What's good, everybody? Hope you are having a wonderful day so far and a wonderful week. Before we start, I'd love it if you could give us a subscribe, give us a comment, share it. This podcast survives by you guys keep on listening and keep on sharing it with your friends. So yeah, thank you for everybody that does do that. If you are new to this, welcome to the family. I hope you subscribe and get involved in the crew. Malp doesn't really need any description, any intro. He's had one of the biggest records in the last couple of years, Drugs From Amsterdam. He constantly releases extremely successful records. His touring career has gone through the roof. He's had an amazing career as Malp in the last 2 years, but before that he had from an outsider's point of view a successful career, from his point of view a struggling artist career, which was then the reason why Malp was born. Super interesting conversation. I love this chat. So without further ado, Malp. Mr. Malp, what's cooking, man?
What's cooking? I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Cannot complain at all. The sun is shining in the UK, which is a rarity. So I'm happy. Where are you?
I'm in Amsterdam.
Okay. You're feeling the same then?
Yeah, we have like 1 month of nice weather every year. So I get this month.
Love it, man. I love it. I want to go ham and just go deep into this Malp project.
Let's do it.
Maurice West was what I knew you as initially.
Right. I'm surprised you even knew
either.
Maurice West.
Yeah, I think, yeah, dude, just got to keep your ears on the ground. But from obviously knowing your Malp stuff and kind of seeing you break out onto the scene as with Drugs From Amsterdam record on Repopulate, I kind of just want to really get into. There's a lot to dig into this, which is really interesting, and I think first of all the juxtaposition between Maurice West and Malp, but also why and how. And there's a lot to talk about that. So first of all, I want to kind of congratulate you.
Thank you.
Having two projects that are extremely successful, on a global scale is unheard of nowadays. So congrats on that one. It's pretty special.
Thank you, sir.
How the fuck did you do it?
I don't even deem the first project too successful, if I'm being honest. Like, to me, I was always doing the Maurice West stuff, and I always sort of felt held back, if that makes sense. Like, I was always looking at other DJs that were in the same sort of sound or universe, whatever, and I'm like, why are they succeeding in that way, and why is it not working for me? And I always was pretty rational. I thought, like, I know music, I know, like, I think I'm a good DJ. I think I'm a good producer. I know how the scene works. I know what I want. I have the vision, but it's just not, something was just not connecting in some way, you know? And I mean, the career was really fun. Like, I played really big festivals and there was like a small fan base and the releases were doing good. And like the big DJs, like the big EDM DJs already hit me up for remixes and stuff and whatever, but it never really got to a point where it felt like organic to me, where I felt like I had this group of people that I could just feed stuff and it would work. It was always sort of like I was still digging for the gold or the diamonds, I guess. And part of that digging turned into like the switch up that became Malp.
Yeah. Why do you think the Maurice West, in your eyes, because I think this is all like personal opinion, right? And obviously, I think from an outsider's point of view, somebody may have been like, Maurice West was an absolutely killing and was doing the most successful career you could ever think of, right? And in your own mind, I can relate to that massively. I can relate to that in my career where, like, from an outsider's point of view, people think you're absolutely killing it. Deep down inside, you think that there's something that you've got a lot more to prove and a lot more to show people, but there's also a level of luck that kind of happens in this industry, and luck isn't necessarily not sounding negative or anything, but sometimes luck just doesn't fall in your path.
No, 100%.
So I think what is success to you?
Damn, that's a deep question. I guess to me, I sort of needed the validation from the like the big guys that I was really looking up to, and from like, I think for me, success is always about making an impact on like the scene. Like I want to leave something behind, and I want to bring something that like nobody has done yet, and they're like, oh wow, so the scene got a little bit of a kick, and now it's going this way because I did something. You know, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So the funny thing was, before Drugs from Amsterdam, I was actually making or trying to make like more radio focused stuff for Marty's West, because I really wanted to be played on the radio. And I told my manager and my friends, like, if this is not going to work, then I don't know what I'm going to do, because like it was 4 songs and I felt like they had huge potential, but maybe, as you said, like the luck just wasn't on my side, or the universe wasn't on my side at that point. And then after that happened, I just sort of became, I don't want to say careless, but like a little bit more freestyle or something. And I just tried making like more house techno orientated stuff, because it was COVID and that's the only thing I was hearing at like these illegal house parties, whatever, because no one in Amsterdam was like playing big room or whatever anymore for a couple of years already. And so when I made Drugs from Amsterdam, it was so, I wasn't thinking about, oh, this has to live up to this certain expectation, or it has to become the biggest hit ever, because I was just making house music because I felt like doing that and I loved it, and I just tried to make something really fresh and something exciting, and that was what that was.
Yeah.
And then it turned into the my biggest song ever, which was also sort of like a contrast, because we tried to be like, I wanted to be like, start over again and do like the whole underground thing, and you know, see where that would bring me, but then it sort of reversed and do something else.
Yeah, you kind of got what you were trying to always do when just
So
giving
weird.
up.
Yeah.
I think there's a beautiful art in that, though, in the fact of just giving up.
Yeah.
Right. And I know it sounds crazy. I've just done a podcast with somebody as well, with a guy called Elijah, who, I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram, but he does like a lot of like, it's almost like what Rick Rubin does, like inspirational talks, but like just through writing.
Okay.
But it's also, he was also talking about like the art of like actually just stopping a project and then starting something new.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to just like get caught up. And I think if you didn't do Drugs from Amsterdam and you were just not even thinking about doing something different, but you were still pushing on that Mary's West, would you be where you're at today?
No, 100% not.
And I think that's it, right? It's like, sometimes the art of saying enough's enough, this project's done, I'm moving on to the next thing, is something special. But was
it's
there
not even that, it's maybe like, I've also noticed back in the day when I made songs for other people, which I didn't do a lot, but like I tried it a couple times, I would be so like freed from any overthinking, like the decisions would be so quick, because I wouldn't care. Like, are people going to hear that sound is from that sample pack, and is it cool enough, and blah blah blah. No, it's just like I would just create, and like the only purpose is the song has to work. That's it. So maybe because I let go of like the strain of thought that, oh, this has to be for Maurice West and it still has to fit in this sort of box, because there was no MALP yet. Nobody knew what that was. So it was like something completely free. Even now, I'm still trying to chase the same like energy that I had when I was making Drugs from Amsterdam and Give Me That Bounce and Metro, because funny enough, they were all made in the same, I think, 2 months.
And they're your 3 biggest records.
Yeah.
What does that say, though? And for like new artists coming through, for old artists that are still flogging a dead horse, for people that are a little confused, like what does that say to creativity?
I guess I wouldn't say you have to stop caring, but you have to. Um, I mean, you have to be really well informed and like have knowledge of what was in the past. Like for me, like culturally, Drugs from Amsterdam sounded like '90s rave. That was sort of the inspiration, like with the
Yeah.
stabs and the super saws and the, you know, and it was that mixed with modern day tech house.
Mm.
So that to me was really fresh. But I was just having fun. I was not like, I was being very like calculated, but not restrained, if that makes sense. So I don't know what the lesson is there. I'm still trying to find out too.
No, I think there's something kind of beautiful about it though, because not when you're, I think it's so easy in this industry, right? And you might be able to relate, but you're going into the studio, we're consuming social media left, right, and center. We're consuming the business side of this industry. Like we're talking to managers, we're talking to our agents, we're talking to our social media team. Everyone around us is like, okay, you're this on this show, you're this person's headlining. Oh, this person last week sold this many tickets in this club. Like
Yeah.
you're only at this amount of tickets. Blah blah blah. Like there's always comparison, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think there's a level of that that's healthy. But I think in an artist mindset is that comparison literally is kind of like, in certain ways, it can literally control our whole studio sessions and what we write.
Yeah.
And I think when I go into the studio going, fuck, what's popping off right now, or what's going to be the next, or who's the artist that I need to be aligned with, or who's that, it kind of just completely destroys all creativity.
Yeah.
When you're Maurice West and then you start out as Mal P, there's no expectations. You don't care.
That's it. There's no way to like get in that same energy again then probably.
Okay, but Mal P, your first record, is Drugs from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the pressure like after that?
Well, when Drugs from Amsterdam did what it did, I had Gimme That Bounce almost finished, but once I understood why Drugs from Amsterdam worked, I was able to finish Gimme That Bounce, which was beautiful because like I sort of understood what the people wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
But I already had this completely new, super fresh idea that was like a perfect follow up. So for me, there was no pressure, which I'm like super blessed and thankful for. But
that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. There's no pressure.
Now, when I release a song, I knew exactly like how many streams Drugs from Amsterdam did on the first day. So I'm always like comparing and like, I guess I'm just like a numbers guy, which is like messed up. But
how many streams did Drugs from Amsterdam do on the first day?
I remember I was flying to Singapore for a Maurice West show, one of the last ones, and it was at like this pretty commercial club. It was Marquee Singapore.
Yeah.
And I was already playing like house and techno stuff as Maurice West because I just didn't care anymore, and they wanted me to play like old school, like big room and EDM stuff, and I was very close to like canceling that show because I just couldn't.
Yeah.
But I ended up just doing like a sort of in between where it was still like cool to me, and then I remember it was going to be released while I was flying to Singapore, and on the flight I was like praying like I hope this does like 100,000 streams in a day because it had so much hype on TikTok. I was like wishing for that to translate to like actual Spotify streams. And then I remember after the show, before I went to sleep, which was like almost one whole day, it had like 200,000. So then I was like, okay, we're on the right track here.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that feel waking up when your first record on a new project has had 200,000 streams on the first day?
it wasn't only that, it was so crazy. Like everything was happening at the same time. Like every big DJ was sending like a DM. They wanted to do like a remix or whatever. And Chesto was talking to me, and whoever you could name right now was talking to me, and Calvin Harris, and like all these guys that I've been looking at through my laptop screen since I was 14.
Yeah.
So like that's super crazy. But I keep saying this, but I'm so happy that this happened for me when I was like 26 and not like 18.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like messed up.
Well, I think this is the thing is I talk about this quite often on this podcast, and people will probably think that it's a broken record. But I genuinely think that sometimes having a hit record early on in your career, although you're still young, if you know what I mean, although like I'm still young, I'm older than you, but I'm still young in the grand scheme of this,
How old are you,
this life. I'm 33.
Yeah, that's young.
But like, I feel like having a hit record early on in your career can be the worst possible thing. It could also be the best possible thing, but most people that I've seen that have had huge hits within the first like year of their career just doesn't last, in a sense of that pressure that gets put on them regularly.
Yeah.
By our next record always has to perform as well as that big record. When in the grand scheme of things, like I want you to have a record bigger than Drugs From Amsterdam, but like for you to put that pressure on yourself is so stupid. It's pointless, because it's like you can't control anything, right? We have zero control over this. But I think the thing is the fortunate thing is where you're at in your career, you've had a whole career beforehand.
Exactly.
You've seen the people go and come, and you've seen the ups and downs of a career, and you've had from what you've had the struggle of a career.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something so important about knowing that the hit record, yes, although it can change your life, it can also ruin your career if it happens too early.
I've also seen a lot of acts that hadn't figured out their sound yet, and then they had a hit record in a style or a sound that they weren't really behind, or maybe at that time they were, but like a year later they're playing like completely different style of music in their sets, just because they, as a person, they want to, and they want to be a different artist than what they were like pushed forward to. And then, you know, that really hurts to watch, because that could have been me, you know, because I was like so all over the place, like in between progressive house, big room, EDM. All my friends were listening to house and like minimal stuff from Amsterdam. And, you know, I grew up with like Awakenings, techno. So I'm happy that I, you know, made the choice to go like completely from point blank. So, okay, here's Mal P. Drugs from Amsterdam is the first thing you get. And then, you know, let's see from there. And I'm still behind everything what I do, like 100%. So
Yeah,
that's a hard part too about it.
How has your family taken this?
They're really happy. My mom's really happy. My dad passed away when I was 18. So
I'm sorry.
No worries. And yeah, my sister's also really happy, but she's the only one in the family that's not like musical. So she was always like giving me shit for that, because she was really good at school and I sucked.
Yeah.
And I ended up like, for her, it might look like I got lucky a little bit, you know.
It must be an interesting one for you. When did you start Mary's West?
I think I had my first release when I was like 19 or 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did like a good, so Malp started 2022, right?
Yeah.
So you had a good year of or a good shift with Mary's West.
Yeah.
Do you still have the same team?
I've always had the same manager. His name is Julius, and like I've known him since I was 16. and we met because because of a mutual friend, and he was making Julius was trying to produce like music too, but then he
Yeah.
showed me like what was supposed to be his song, but then I just recognized it was a remake that he downloaded the project file off of YouTube. I was like, this is not your song. He's like, okay, you're right. Fine, I'll sell all my stuff and I'll, handle everything so you can be the artist. I'll do the boring paperwork stuff and the business stuff. And he never stopped doing that. So that's like, he's amazing. And then there's Tommy, who does all my like content and photography and videography, and that's like the core, like us three, and then the rest
Yeah.
is just. I never had a big team for Maurice West. I just like now I have like a decent sized team, but that was only because of the success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to your manager, how important is it for you to have been with him for that long, and for both of you to kind of evolve as human beings mostly?
I think it's one of the most important things of my career, to be honest, because also when Drugs from Amsterdam happened, I got so many offers from other managers, from people that I like never met before, who were like on the business aspect. That was a good move from them to like approach me, but like
Yeah.
for me, probably I was just for them like a tool to make more money,
Of course.
I guess. And I see that and I understand that, but it's me and Julius can just always, at any point of the day discuss anything that we want, and it's always like straight up. There's no bullshit, and we know exactly like what I need, what he needs, and it's just like very natural. It's like working with your family, basically.
It's so important. There's something about relationship between artist and manager that I can't just you can't even I can't even describe it. But for me, it's like it's the most important thing, I believe,
Yeah.
because that person that you call your manager, you spend most of your life with or talking to more than your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your
Mhm.
family or everything like that. Like, they get to know you truly, who you are, if the relationship's strong. I know there's lots of people, lots of artists, I'm sure you have lots of friends that their relationship is strictly business, but for me is like I wouldn't want that
No,
in a manager.
no.
It's tough, but I'm happy you found the one
Yep.
that stays around. um so Drugs from Amsterdam comes out. How does your life change?
Um, I get to buy like a new house, a new car. I'm on a plane a lot more times. I'm away from home, I guess, half of the year.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I guess it's what I've like envisioned since I was very young. Like I always saw this work in my head. That's why I was so frustrated during Maurice West when it didn't work, because I knew like it was gonna work. And like even the other people, like producers or like label people, they would always tell me, I'm gonna stick with you because um, for me it's not a question if you will be big, it's like it's when.
When?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, whatever. They're just like, that's probably something they tell everyone. But then it started making sense when it actually happened. And like, the only thing I had to do was like keep working, and then the pieces would just fall, So a lot changed, but it doesn't feel weird or anything.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, but
I want
that's also because like I did it on a lower scale a couple of times. I feel like for like with Maurice West, I saw all the paperwork, the contracts, the sort of the attention that you get, and like playing in front of big crowds, and like being successful on a lower scale too. But
yeah. It's a tough question, or it's a tough situation to be in when you're struggling as an artist, getting through it, knowing that you want more out of this. Because I feel like there's a level of everybody always wanting more, and I think when is that time to make the decision of a new project, of something new? And was there like a specific point in your Maurice West career where you're like, I need to just stop this?
I guess it was during COVID that there wasn't a real decision from my side to sort of start a new project. But the thing was, it happened naturally because I was just making music that didn't fit the old project anymore.
Yeah.
So I showed my booking agency, my agents, and Julius. I showed them like a folder of 10 songs, which was probably like some of the stuff that got released last year, like Drugs From Amsterdam, Give Me That Bounce, Metro. Like the early versions of those songs were in there. And the booking agents were like, this is amazing, but we can never sell this on a lineup with, you can never be on a lineup as Maurice West with like all of these other DJs that you adore. Like I was really into Chris Lake at the time, for example, and like no way that if you go on Maurice West Spotify, you'll see like a Every Time We Touch remix I did with Hardwell, which is like full on Euro.
I was listening to it this morning.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, it's probably going to become popular again with the whole new sound that's coming back.
Maybe I was ahead of my time. I don't know. Maybe I should have stuck with Maurice West.
Maybe.
But so that was just a thing. It was like a crossroads where I was just gonna go with that kind of music, and we just needed a new name for them to be able to sell it, like to sell the product, which is me, I guess. So Julius told me first, like, hey, I think we're gonna need to change your artist name, and that was like a really hard pill to swallow for me because I'd been working on Maurice West for I think 6 years.
Yeah,
and it sort of feels like you raised like a kid or like an animal for 6 years, and you have to kill it.
Of course. Yeah, kill your baby.
Yeah. So but the more I started thinking about it and the more I had like discussions with him about it, the less arguments I started to have like against it. And then at one point I was like, okay, well, let's think of a name. And then we just wanted to do Mao. And then one of my friends from Amsterdam was like, no, I need to add like a space and then a P, because my nickname from Amsterdam is Maupye, which just means like little Mao, like Mao P.
Yeah.
And then now we turn it into like a rapper name or like a more US conform name, I guess. So that's how that happened.
What was that process of like accepting to kill your baby to Maupye? Was that a long time, or was that?
It was quick? It felt sort of nice, I gotta say. It's weird, but like it felt freeing because the house stuff I was making before that for me still had to be also Maurice West in some way. So it was sort of in between like big room sounds, like big synthesizers and whatever on a tech house beat. And then that's why Drugs From Amsterdam was probably the first thing that we released. And it sounds like, there's like a real big room saw in there. Like the only thing I was making all of those years before that was that kind of sound.
Yeah.
But then I found just the coolest way to like have that in a really small section of the song and give it to them for like a really small like moment. They're like, and then it's gone.
Take it away.
Yeah. So it's like, and then the drop feels like smaller than that part, So that's when I was like, oh, there's like magic in this somehow. So that was a funny transition between those two sounds.
Yeah, because when obviously I hadn't heard of Maupye when Drugs From Amsterdam came out. Like my ears weren't to the ground in that sense, and I just kept on hearing this fucking record, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" Like I'd literally never heard of this guy in my life, and has the biggest record. And of course, everyone's like, not everyone, but you're like, how? Like, because there's no such thing as overnight success, right? There's no such thing, no, in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And I was just like, how is this dude like got so big on one record? And then realized, then I was told, oh, it's Maurice West, and I was like, makes sense, complete makes sense. You were saying that you were finishing Give Me That Bounce after Drugs From Amsterdam is out.
Yeah.
And you said you worked out what needed to change. You worked out the formula of like what people want. In your mind, what was that formula that people want?
At that time, for the first time, there was like the hard techno thing was going on.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of like really ravey, like old school sounds in there. And Trim, this French DJ, was doing a lot of like harder trancey stuff. So I sort of heard those really big euphoric sounds make a comeback. And so I was just trying to do synthesizers on house beats. And so for Give Me That Bounce, I had the part where I did the whole like the slow down, the LFO thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I just couldn't figure out the arrangement of the rest of the song. And then when Drugs From Amsterdam hit, I could sort of, in my head, I could see the different sections and how it would work in front of a crowd, because also I hadn't been in front of a crowd for pretty long. Like I like there were some shows, but like it was right after COVID, as I said. So yeah, I now I got to see all these videos on TikTok of people playing Drugs From Amsterdam and DJs, and I got to play like some cool shows in front of more like house audiences.
Yeah.
And because I feel like that's a really important part of the stuff that we produce. Like it's so intertwined or like focused on the like how a crowd is going to react, apart from the listening on Spotify, of course. But you know,
I think it sparks from the club in a lot of senses of what we're writing and what we're known to put out. It starts from that club aspect.
Yeah.
You mentioned Drugs From Amsterdam was doing well on Twitter before it came out. No, TikTok before it came out. How much do you like? How did that start out on TikTok?
So this folder that I told you about with all of the new songs, it was probably like 10 songs.
Yeah.
And I sent that out to, I think, Wade and A-Craze. And those were kind of the only guys that I was able to reach with like my Maurice West profile, because that was, I didn't have a Malp Instagram yet. And then they started playing it. Somehow everyone started playing Drugs From Amsterdam from that folder. That's just the one they picked. And then everyone, like other DJs, they heard it in like the sets, and then they started DMing me, and then sort of Drugs From Amsterdam became its own thing. And then I also sent it to Walker and Royce.
Yeah.
And they played at the Brooklyn Mirage. And I remember I was on vacation actually in Greece. I was on the beach and I saw this one video that not even them, they posted, but some other account, just like a dance music blog account, whatever, posted it on TikTok of them playing the last drop from Drugs From Amsterdam at the Mirage. So with the big synths and everything, and like the part that everybody knows the song for.
Yeah.
And I was checking in like every couple minutes, and every time I checked, it had 100,000 views more.
Whoa.
So I was like, this thing is like blowing up, and I need to be ahead of this. So at that moment, I called Julius. I was like, I think we have to change our TikTok page to something with Malp right now, or we at least have to put the song title in the bio or whatever. And so we did, and then I texted or like in TikTok message, whatever it is, that guy that posted that video and asked him like, hey, can you tag me in this? I started
Yeah.
commenting on it, whatever, just tried to make people see like, hey, I made
This is
this,
me.
you know?
Yeah.
And it ended up at like 5.5 million views. And then while I was still on that vacation, the next day on the beach, all of these licensing deals started coming in. So we had 10 biggest major labels in the world that you can name right now on the phone. Like Julius and I were doing meetings. I was at the beach. I was just like in all of these sort of calls. We had like
Yeah.
one after the other, and Julius would call me like, okay, now we're up with Sony, now we're up with EMI, now we're up with Republic, whoever. And it just kept going, and all of these labels trying to tell me like how much they're gonna do for me. You know, they all tried to really sell it to me, and they all wanted to license the song. And then I don't know, that's when like the craziness started.
Mm. So how the hell did it get onto Repopulate Mars?
I guess it already was signed to Lee before it blew up,
Yeah.
because he DM'd me too. He's like, hey, I need that Amsterdam track, can you send it to me? I might want it for the label, so I'm gonna test it a few times. And then I was like, sure. I was a big fan of Repopulate, and that was like, I had no sort of power or whatever in the house world or in the
Of
tech house
course.
world, whatever. I had no credibility. I had no status. So anything that came to me, I was like really thankful for. And
Mm.
so I immediately sent it to him and like followed up on him, like, hey, how did it go? And he started tagging me in all these stories. And then I guess we just got that done. Like, it's like, yeah, let's release it.
It's pretty crazy to look at the Repopulate Mars brand because they're behind breaking so many artists.
Crazy.
If you look like yourself, John Summit, Ben Hemsley, who else?
Even Michael Beebe used to release.
Michael Beebe, yeah. Michael Beebe was as well.
Yeah.
And it's crazy what that brand has done.
I feel like Lee Foss honestly is like an outer world creature. Like he's a wizard or something. Because if you've met him, I cannot like envision him doing all of these, finding all of these artists and music, and like he just has so much. And
Yeah.
like I remember that year or even before we did Drugs from Amsterdam, he was like the number 3 label on Beatport.
It's crazy.
Like competing with like the two biggest, like I can't even remember.
Defected.
Yeah, probably.
Defected, yeah. In Toolroom, probably.
Yeah.
It's mad. And then he also has his like side label as well,
Yeah.
which I can't remember what it's called. And they're all like really successful, like and all like everyone that comes through there does something pretty big.
Yeah.
Like just it's madness. So moving on through releases, you talk about being on lineups with Chris Lake and looking up to Chris Lake. It's quite interesting you say that because Chris also went down the EDM route for many years.
Yeah.
And kind of has taken a similar path to where you've at. And then you go and release Dress Code on his label.
Yep.
How do you approach to sign records now? Now you're hot topic. Now everyone wants you. You can probably go and do any deal you want, depending on whatever you kind of ask for. How do you kind of go about releasing music in the right way so it still feels authentic and it still kind of aligns with what you want to do as Mal P?
So for Dress Code is a good example because that one is pretty recent. And when I made that song and I tried to sort of look at what it would do, or like sort of what world it could live in on a label side, I just feel like I felt like it could really like work on Black Book, and I love their sound and what they're doing. So it's not really about my sort of position. It's more about like what I feel like is a cool thing to do, and what are cool people to work with, and what's like.
Yeah.
After Drugs from Amsterdam, I just try to sort of find the most like dance culture, like the most culturally important labels for dance. So I immediately went to talk to Defected and to like the more like the labels that have like communities around them, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what I felt like would be a nice way to um, uh, like go from the big Drugs from Amsterdam commercial thing to a nice career.
Yeah.
So that was more of the thinking, I think.
Have you ever thought about starting your own label?
Yes, but I'm giving that some more time until I have everything like properly arranged for that, and like the back end and all the boring, you know, the
admin.
Yeah, the admin.
Let's talk about the latest record, On Again.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit more in depth of this record? It seems
That's a funny bridge, because that idea started out because I was doing a remix for Chris Lake that I never finished.
Yeah. Okay.
Which was for the song with like with the telephone sounds, like ring ring goes the telephone.
Yeah.
That one, because he gave me.
I think I remixed that record.
You did?
Yeah, I think so.
It's probably better than whatever I came up with. Like, I could never figure it out. And then, but Chris gave me the stems and was just like, "Hey, do you want to try something?" I was like, and I kept trying and I kept trying, but there was always this one sort of bass line that I had, or it's like an acid thing in that project. And then I was listening to a lot of 070 Shake, which is,
I don't know who that is.
that is a girl from, I think, New York, and it's more like rap.
Okay.
And
Just
she
made a note of
was
that.
featured on a Kanye song, and after that she did a song with Swedish House Mafia too. The Heaven Takes You Home one, I think.
Okay.
And she has a really unique voice, but she has these really obnoxious like chord progressions, and sometimes it was just two chords, and that's what I tried to like mess around with, like on that acid bass line.
Yeah.
And that's how, sort of, from that remix for Chris, there was like, I felt like, okay, this is turning into something original that I want to do. And I started like writing vocals, recording vocals, and there was like a lot of different stuff in there, but the one that stuck the most was just the hook that I have for On Again. And I let that, you know, like sit for a while, and I didn't think about it. But then when I went back after a couple of weeks, it was that hook that stood out, and I just tried messing around with putting that hook just in, like, on top of that beat, and trying like a higher register, so like a higher octave and a lower octave, and like switching between those. And like a couple of times I accidentally turned that one on and turned the other one off mid-sentence, and you can sort of hear that in the final production now still. But where the inspiration came from was all of these sort of rap bootlegs that I think Clooney plays a lot.
Yeah.
And there's this one guy called Fallon. He made like a rich motherfucker edit, and all it is the vocal with a lot of reverb, and then it does a little glitch, and then it goes into the beat, you know?
Yeah.
And it worked, and it worked so well when I played it. And then I was like, why is nobody making like original hip hop house?
Yeah.
Or as I like to call it, trap house.
And it's like classic New York hip house from back in the 90s.
Yeah.
was just like, it was so fucking good back then. Miami Bass period as well.
So that was sort of the inspiration for it. And then I'm in LA for the BMO show with John Summit that I did support for. And there was this one guy that I met a couple weeks before who was like, yeah, I produce for Kanye, I produce for Travis. And I'm like, sure you do. But I'm always sort of like thinking about, I give them the advantage of the doubt, you know?
Yeah.
And so I look at his Instagram and he has all these like gold certifications or platinum certifications for these Travis Scott and Kanye West songs. So I'm like, oh shit, he's legit. So I stayed in touch with him. And then when I'm in LA, he FaceTimes me and I don't pick up because I was like busy doing something else. He's like, pick up, I'm with Mike Dean. I'm like, oh shit. So I call him back and he just hands the phone over to Mike Dean, who's in that studio that I've always seen on those live streams, like with all the synthesizers and whatever. And we just start talking about nothing. He's super cool and like interested, whatever. And he's like, you should come by the studio later this week. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's do it. Why not?
No way.
So we planned that. I get the most expensive Uber ever just because I've never met this guy and I want to like flex and not, I want to pull up in like a big SUV. So I do that. I pull up to his house, like huge LA house. He's smoking weed. He's super chill. And I show him, first thing I do is I show him On Again in the studio. He just starts playing on all of his synthesizers, which are always on, apparently.
Yeah.
And then the other guy who introduced me to him is like, yo, you should hit record. So Mike starts recording for 3 hours straight to like a loop that I made of On Again. And when he's done, he's just like, you want the project file? I'm like, yes, please. Sure. And he airdrops it to me. And then, that's it. And I just have all the synthesizer parts and whatever, and I could just do whatever I want.
Yeah, I just looked at the credits, Mike Dean on there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Robert Pronk.
Yeah.
I've seen he's on a lot of your projects.
He's on everything.
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about that because I think there's something weird in this industry where a lot of artists work with producers, engineers, and a lot of like creatives, yet don't really talk about it. And I think it's really important to talk about it.
Yeah.
Can you explain your relationship with him?
He's been on board since Maurice West, actually. And I used to be with Sony Publishing in the Netherlands. And there was this one guy who was really good at putting two random people together. And but he would already see that it could work. And he did that for me and Robert. And Robert used to play in a band called Causes, which is, they have a UK singer, I think, and they had a hit called Teach Me How to Dance With You.
Yeah.
And they had a whole like career. They had tours and whatever, but they split apart. And at that point, he was just doing sessions, but he was only doing sessions because he likes making music. Yeah. And he's a teacher at a tech school, actually.
Oh, damn.
So he was not doing sessions to make a hit and make money, whatever. So we were sort of in the same state of mind, because the first session I tell him, I don't just want to make like a stupid song that A&Rs will go crazy for. I just want to make some weird stuff and, see if we can bring something fresh to the table.
Yeah.
And he loved that immediately. And he was one of the people that always stuck around, and he always used to tell me like, we're going to have a big song, but I just don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm just going to stick with you. And I have like complete trust in you. And it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And then he would always be my sort of extra pair of ears. He still is, by the way. And for me, it was perfect because like I'm such an overthinker, and I could always just like send him ideas, and he would be like, maybe you can like do that and do that. And he has no knowledge of dance music. So
That's perfect.
he would always approach it from like, how would a band play this? Or how would, uh, he likes hip hop a lot and like more like the older stuff. He's not up to date with like the Travis Scott and Gunna and whoever, but, he's a bass player. So he, I always call him the pocket master, because I can always give him a bass line and he will be like, nah, this doesn't work with your drums, or this doesn't work with the vocal. If you change that note to
Yeah,
that, it'll be perfect. And he can always fix that for me.
I
So
love that.
I feel like there's some songs where I bring him in like when the song is already 80% there, and he just has those, for example, for Drugs from Amsterdam, he has those like killer last minute additions that just turn it into a whole, you know?
Mm,
For example, we already had MC Stretch on Drugs from Amsterdam, and then Robert was like, we need like two more sentences from him, in like the beginning somewhere and like in the back somewhere, and then, we need that in the arrangement to sort of keep it fresh and switch it up and blah blah blah, because he thinks in like a more sort of radio, mind, I guess.
yeah,
So there's
yeah,
like a
yeah,
really
yeah.
nice balance between us. But yeah, he's amazing. Like, I love talking about him, and I love. I just hate the fact that there's people that DM him and they're like, they've seen him in the credits for my songs, and they think they can now get a hit record if they hit up Robert and pay him a lot or something. But it's funny because he always sends those messages to me, and we're like, yeah, whatever.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Is again, it goes back to what we were talking about management.
Yeah,
It's just relationships, and I think you wouldn't be you without him. He wouldn't be him without you. And I think that is the beautiful thing about a relationship that works really well, is that whatever you're great at, he's not great at, and whatever he's great at, you're not great at.
yeah,
And and that's so important when it comes to music, or life just generally. And I think there's a lot of artists out there that don't talk about that relationship that they have with their engineer, with their producer, with whoever that is. And I think it actually it's kind of depressing, to be fair.
yeah.
Like, I've had it in a situation where like you pretty much write somebody's whole catalog, and then they don't talk about it,
Hmm.
don't talk about the relationship, because I think it's so important that that relationship is spoken about, because it's so normal in this day and age for people to be working on records. It's actually abnormal, the fact that people write all their music by themselves. It's unheard of
Yeah,
that actually happens. There's a process of multiple people in the creative process. You go back to the Beatles, it wasn't just one person writing everything. It's crazy how this kind of scene now is kind of polarizing, where
that's why I love the Spotify credits though, because like anyone can now
yeah,
sort of dig in, and there's also this sort of structure where some artists will, um, like have an actual guy that produces with them, but they, in the deal, they don't have to credit them like
yeah,
on like the producer credits or the writer credits or whatever. But I've always told Robert like, um, I want you to like be on here too, because it's like it's a team effort,
mm,
and, like we're doing this stuff together. Like, of course, it's not a marketing thing for me. Like, I'm not gonna be like, me and Robert made this song, every song I made.
no,
But, it's cool to sort of, uh, have everyone on the Spotify credits, and like let people see like, oh, it's a team sort of.
I think it's so important, man, and it's nice that you're open to talk about it, because so many people aren't willing to talk about
If I
it.
don't talk about it, probably people will be like, there's already some people that are like, Maupi as a ghost producer. He doesn't make any of his music himself. I'm like, I've been doing this since I was 14. Come on.
There's always going to be that person.
Yeah,
I think there's always going to be those people out there. The minute somebody has a slight bit of success, there's going to be
the
those people
haters.
that just question. Yeah, of course, and that just means you're doing it right. Like, I've had quite a few females on here, female DJ producers, and they get it the worst. Like, I genuinely don't understand how much shit the females get in this industry. Is gross. From a bunch of dudes that don't do anything in this industry, because it's fucking weird. The internet is a strange place.
Yeah.
But I think, like, yeah, I think it's important to kind of shout as loud as possible that this is a team game, and you can't do it by yourself. No one can do it by themselves.
And it's so much fun to make music with other people.
So much better. I didn't for a long time. I always just wrote shit by myself. And only recently, like my latest single and all my future singles for the next like year, I guess, really, I wrote with a bunch of people, and it's just like so much more fun.
Yeah.
Just being able to just like
Like
somebody that's great at something. Yeah, it's just like, that's what it's about, right? It's just building community, building friends. And if you write a shit record, but you come out the studio with a new friend or a new conversation that you wouldn't have ever had before, like that's priceless.
Yeah.
Dude, let's wrap this up. But I like, congrats on everything.
Thank
man.
you.
Keep it up. Like, it's amazing to see. I love people winning in this industry, in an industry that's hard, that doesn't allow it to be an easy industry to be successful.
No.
Keep it up, man. And yeah, always here for a chat.
Thank you, bro. Hope to see you soon somewhere, by the way.
For sure, man. For sure.
Probably,
keep safe.
Probably in the US.
Probably. Big ups, man. Keep safe. See you soon.
See ya.
Stay on, mate. Stay on. And that's a wrap. Big love to Malpi for coming on. Thanks to everybody for listening. Please share. Please give us a comment. Let me know in the DMs who you want to be on the podcast. Big love. Keep safe.